Camilla, the future queen consort. In an exclusive interview, she discusses her relationship with Prince Charles, her years in the public eye, and the ways she has dealt with criticism. The truth behind Queen Camilla's lengthy and frequently criticized marriage to King Charles is finally emerging as she opens up about it at the age of 77. After all these years of speculation, finger-pointing, and criticism, she finally reveals the secret that kept them together. However, what were the hidden meanings of all this? Come explore the mysteries of Queen Camilla's enduring specter as we reveal the truth about one of the most talked-about royal romances. The death of Princess Diana in 1997 was a tragedy that affected people everywhere. Her gentle, graceful, and powerful demeanor brought her great fame in addition to her position in the royal family. Many were saddened, perplexed, and cautious by her sudden passing. Nobody could help but wonder if there was more to her death than met the eye as time went on. As a result, rumors began to circulate regarding Camilla, another woman who was allegedly involved. The death of Princess Diana did not make it any easier for many to embrace Camilla. The minority persists. Despite the passage of time since Diana's death, Camilla continued to experience unease inside the royal family upon her 2005 marriage to Prince Charles. Rumors would circulate about her, and just being in her company would remind others of the suffering Diana endured. No matter how much time passed, Diana's aura remained. Word spread like wildfire. New evidence cast doubt on the long-held belief that Diana died in a car crash while attempting to evade the paparazzi. The disclosure of sensitive data raises the possibility that there was more to Diana's death than initially thought. People who had worked for the royal but had remained silent for a long time now spoke forward. Diana reportedly said she was afraid someone was trying to hurt her and that she was afraid for her safety. Among the discovered documents was a note that was supposedly written by Diana. The note discussed the likelihood of her death in a vehicle accident as a result of ineffective brakes. Reading this letter made a lot of individuals feel anxious. She was said to have gotten a vision of her future by others. Some think the heavy attention in her life was simply making her anxious and afraid. Over and over again, Camilla's name popped up. Some members of the royal family may have viewed Diana as a threat, according to documents that were leaked and witness accounts. Princess Diana was beloved by many because she was unafraid to say what was on her mind and break with royal protocol. She was a significant character because of her boldness, charisma, and enormous popularity. Not only was she a princess, but she was also the people's ambassador. There were some who thought she prevented Camilla and Charles from being together freely. Princess Diana's admirers saw Camilla as a symbol of all the troubles that had befallen her in the past. Being a member of the royal family, in their view, was an affront to Diana's memory. They thought Camilla benefited from Diana's misery, and that she had no business being linked to the king. This rekindled the feelings when the prospect of Camilla becoming queen was considered. Recalling the contentious events that took place in Paris, some members of the public are accusing Camilla, not because of anything she has done differently, but because there is more interest in Diana's life and death. Books, documentaries, and internet videos are sustaining the story. Many well-known people, including former journalists and palace insiders, have returned to the discourse. There are a lot of people who believe that certain mysteries have yet to be solved. There are others who go so far as to say that certain people are trying to hide something crucial. The public views Camilla from two distinct perspectives. Some people think of her as a lady who was considerate and patient until she got love back. Her detractors accuse her of taking advantage of Diana's illness and death. Because of this schism, many people find it difficult to recognize Camilla as queen. New inquiries emerge in response to newly disclosed details. Was Charles and Camilla trying to get rid of Diana, or did Diana's death happen by accident? The past becomes murky due to these questions that remain unresolved. There is no denying that Diana's influence on public perception of the royal family has grown stronger over the years. Ever since Diana's death, Camilla has felt an unbreakable bond to her. No one ever stopped questioning, blaming, and comparing her to her. Her accomplishments as Duchess of Cornwall and eventually Queen were not enough to erase her illustrious history. Beyond their love inclinations, Diana and Camilla were at odds with one another. Among the other things covered were matters of respect, safety, and authority. Many people were enchanted by the beauty and optimism embodied by the young woman known as Diana. In contrast, Camilla was an important figure in Charles's life before to Diana's arrival. Prior to his marriage to Diana, Charles harbored romantic affections for her. In addition to herself and Charles, Diana quickly came to terms with the fact that her marriage included Camilla. She felt abandoned and deceived by this. Her marriage appeared to not be her own. While Charles was Camilla's romantic interest, Diana was a huge roadblock in their relationship. Over time, their silent animosity intensified. Camilla was made out to be the villain as Diana's fame grew. Diana spilled the beans to the press about private matters, including Charles's affair with Camilla. Much to everyone's astonishment, these revelations drew unwelcome attention to Camilla. Camilla was associated with scandal, whereas Diana was viewed as brave and honest. Even after her divorce from Prince Charles, Diana continued to be the beloved princess of the people. Because of her renown, attractiveness, and kindness, people couldn't help but be pulled to her. On the other hand, Camilla had a hard time gaining the public's favor and was frequently blamed for breaking up a seemingly perfect fairy tale coupling. Who knows how Charles and Camilla's relationship might have fared if Diana had been around? Diana may have had the option to conceal their relationship, but the world was surprised and grieving when Diana died in a car crash in 1997. The streets were flooded with flowers and melodies as people throughout the world wept, left mementos, and sang Diana's praises. Some began to wonder if her death was part of a larger plot. Some wondered if Diana was singled out for special treatment. She has a reputation for fearlessly expressing herself. Unintentionally, she had divulged sensitive information. Disputes had arisen between her and members of the royal family in the past. Possibly, someone intended to hurt her so that there wouldn't be any more problems. Despite the lack of evidence connecting Camilla to any wrongdoing, the public's suspicions were aroused by the chain of events. Camilla rose to prominence once Diana was no longer a factor. After Diana was out of the picture, public sentiment toward Camilla began to improve. As time went on, Camilla became more involved with the royal family after marrying Charles. She was finally recognized and elevated to the position of queen as time went on. But not everyone was prepared to put the past in the past. From the start, how did Camilla become Princess Diana's worst nightmare? Looking back, we can see where it all began. A royal love story, Camilla's quiet chapter. In royal history, Camilla is most recognized for a famous love story that included both happy and sad moments and had a major influence on the monarchy. Because of the constant criticism, rumors, and misunderstanding around her, her part in this story has always been murky. Although Prince Charles and Princess Diana get all the attention, Camilla's narrative contributes to our knowledge of how timing, cultural expectations, and responsibilities shape royal love stories. In 1971, when both Prince Charles and Camilla Shand were young and trying to figure out their lives' directions, they crossed paths for the first time. While Charles was figuring out his place in the royal family, Camilla had recently ended her relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles. A friend introduced them, despite the fact that they had been in the same social circles. From then, their friendship blossomed into romance, and their relationship progressed swiftly. They were often seen together, clearly enjoying each other's company. Going out and sharing significant experiences, they laughed a lot. Charles admired Camilla for her laid-back personality, while Camilla was captivated by his charisma. They became closer as they went to polo matches and other social gatherings side by side. After meeting Camilla's family, Charles met his tight group. They appeared to be on the verge of a future together for a while, but that was at the worst possible time. Charles and Camilla's relationship ended when he enlisted in the Royal Navy in early 1973. They broke up for a variety of reasons. There were those who felt Charles wasn't ready for marriage, and those who thought Camilla was disliked by those in the royal family. Some said she wasn't cut out for royal life, while others said she harbored lingering affections for her ex-boyfriend. When Charles wed Diana, it was widely believed that the Queen Mother had intended for him to wed a Spencer. After much deliberation, Camilla and Andrew Parker Bowles were married. Charles, however, continued his duties as a prince and wed Lady Diana Spencer in 1981. Everyone watched their wedding with rapt attention, as if it were the start of a real-life fairy tale. Be that as it may, there were some snags in the making. Despite their separation, Camilla and Charles maintained contact. Charles took comfort in their long-term friendship when times were tough. When Charles's mentor and close relative, Lord Mountbatten, died in a terrible accident in 1979, he sought solace in Camilla. A rekindling of the once-paused bond between them started to take place gradually. In 1980, their bond grew even stronger. A rumor started making the rounds in the polo communities and among close friends. The connection they shared was clearly always there. Their feelings for each other subtly developed again, despite their marriages to other people. Very few people were familiar with Camilla when Charles and Diana were married, but it was obvious that the royal family had not forgotten their history. There was tension in Diana's marriage to Charles as a result of her meteoric rise to international fame and the adoration of millions. As Diana's fame grew, so did the tension in their relationship. In his time of need, Charles sought solace from his lifelong friend Camilla. By 1986, their friendship had progressed beyond its initial platonic stage. Ultimately, the truth came to light. Problems in Diana's marriage were revealed in a book that came out in 1992. Public outcry ensued the following year after a private phone conversation between Charles and Camilla went viral. Outrage was felt by many when the truth was revealed. There were camps among the people, and most of them blamed Camilla. Even though there were other factors at play, many still hold her accountable for Diana's misery. After facing criticism and ridicule, Camilla's life took a dramatic turn. Camilla remained out of the public eye after Charles and Diana's 1996 divorce. There was no attempt at an explanation or interview with the media on her part. She opted to stay out of the spotlight until things calmed down. It was a tough call, but it ended up helping her gain more respect from the public. She subtly altered people's perceptions of her by remaining quiet, patient, and giving it time. Even after Diana's death in 1997, Camilla remained very careful. She allowed Charles to attend to his royal duties without drawing attention to herself. They gradually became more visible in public together, although they were still very cautious. Recognizing the pain their previous acts had caused, they both made an effort to avoid aggravating the situation. Camilla took her time in trying to win over the masses. Rather, she displayed patience and conveyed her message through her behavior. Over time, word of their friendship spread. The 2005 wedding between Camilla and Charles was a simple civil ceremony. After then, Camilla became known as the Duchess of Cornwall. She maintained her modesty despite her new position. To honor Diana's memory, she opted not to use the title Princess of Wales. To avoid changing people's perceptions of the past or putting herself in their place, Camilla avoided doing either. On the contrary, she vowed to quietly assist the public and stand behind Charles. People started to think better of Camilla as time went on. She started going on more official royal engagements, like meeting with the public and visiting charity. Her charisma and dedication transformed people's perceptions of her. Some people continued to harbor bitter recollections of her past, while others warmed up to her. As queen consort, Camilla's role was elevated following the death of Queen Elizabeth II and Charles's coronation as king. Nevertheless, she maintained her modest demeanor even after receiving her new title. No amount of oratory skills or desire to alter the course of events would be fitting for her role as a member of the royal family she understood. Instead, she focused on calmly and dignifiedly fulfilling her duties. From her time as Duchess until her reign as Queen Consort, Camilla was a divisive figure, but she ultimately found success and improved public perception. But how exactly did Camilla go from being a divisive character to being Queen Consort? The journey that Camilla took to become Queen Consort. Camilla and Prince Charles found themselves in a precarious position following the divorces of their wives. Charles chose to remain with Camilla despite the criticism and media attention. He would no longer put up with anyone. Trying to control his romantic life or hide his emotions. With Camilla by his side, Charles was ready to face any obstacle. It would be difficult to introduce Camilla to the public. Charles knew that. Past scandals had tarnished Camilla's reputation, and many still held her to high standards based on those. Charles sought the advice of an established public relations expert in order to resolve this matter. The overarching goal was to enhance Camilla's public profile. The point was not to cover up or downplay Camilla's history, but to show the world who she really is. Something unexpected happened in 1997. While traveling to Charles's house, Camilla was involved in a car accident. The incident thrust her back into the limelight, despite the fact that it was not a serious one. At this point, the storyline shifted. People began to see her for who she really was, a human being with emotions, concerns, and problems, not merely a participant in a royal love triangle. Camilla started to make more public appearances, typically walking hand in hand with Charles to social functions, but she never once sought attention or made a daring statement. Standing silently by his side, she began to win people over with her easygoing personality. Camilla and Charles made a public declaration of their relationship status in 1999 when they entered her sister's birthday celebration at the Ritz-Carlton hand in hand. More formal obligations were taken on by Camilla in the year 2000. She became vocal about vital issues and began supporting charitable projects. Her passion for the Royal Osteoporosis Society led her to assume the role of president early on. The public saw that her goals extended beyond those of a royal spouse. She aspired to make a difference. Meeting Queen Elizabeth II at an event was a subtle but profound moment for her. Over time, she became a recognizable face among the royal family. During the Queen's Golden Jubilee festivities in 2002, Camilla was a guest. She made her presence known at a concert by sitting behind the Queen. Prince Charles and she moved into Clarence House the next year, signifying the gravity of their relationship being acknowledged in public. Camilla began to become more of a regular companion to Prince Charles, appearing at more royal occasions beside him. Accompanying him to Scotland, she became a member of Highland gatherings and began to give the impression that she, too, would one day be a princess. The media began to speculate about when they might make the engagement announcement. Public opinion was gradually changing. Some people were still thinking about Diana, while others were beginning to bring Camilla into the royal story. In the face of cruel comments and criticism, Camilla chose to stay silent and focused on her duties. People started to respect her strength after that. She supported Charles without seeking favor through flashy attire or fiery remarks, but by showing up often, working hard, and being there for him. Charles and Camilla announced their engagement in 2005. Because it had belonged to his grandma before, the engagement ring he presented her with was very meaningful to him. They cherished this beautiful ring because it represented their love, their history, and their strong bond. Some were against it because of Camilla's history of divorces, but the Queen, government authorities, and religious leaders all voiced their approval. They had planned to tie the knot at Windsor Castle on April 8th, but the venue's regulations prevented them from doing so. The royal family did not wish for Windsor Castle to become publicly accessible following a civil wedding, as this would have made it inaccessible to them. The event was consequently moved to the Windsor Guildhall, a more intimate neighboring location. Another issue then surfaced. Some attendees had competing commitments due to the simultaneous scheduling of Pope John Paul II's funeral. As a result, the wedding had to be pushed back by one day. Their wedding day was April 9th, 2005. The second wedding Charles had was more smaller and more solemn than the first. Witnesses included their sons. A blessing was held thereafter at St. George's Chapel, which the Queen and Prince Philip attended. Warmth and reverence pervaded the otherwise subdued occasion. Music and joy filled the subsequent celebration, which was quite magnificent. A honeymoon in Scotland was in order for Charles and Camilla after their wedding. I had a peaceful journey, as a sign of their newfound status as a royal couple. With grace, Camilla took on her new duties and stood behind Charles. In addition to her ongoing work with nonprofits, she also took on more royal duties. More and more people began to understand her as time went on. Despite the judgments of others, she stood by the guy she loved and never tried to fill someone else's shoes. Her humility and forbearance shone through over time. News outlets began to portray her in a different manner. Prominent newspapers acknowledged her as one of the most influential women in 2023, 2024, and 2025. She exhibited remarkable inner strength, which is why she was recognized, not for publicity purposes. The experiences that Camilla and Charles had throughout the years formed a deep connection between them that extended beyond romantic affection. Many assumed Camilla's relationship with Charles was motivated by her own private motivations. After breaking her heart in their previous relationship, Andrew cheated on her, adding insult to injury and making her feel worthless. She was already hurting when she found out he was close to Princess Anne. She found solace in Charles's warmth and respect, as she sought solace from her feelings of neglect and betrayal. By demonstrating to Camilla and others that she was deserving of love, respect, and value, Charles aided in her recovery and restored her self-confidence. Notoriety and spotlights were not her goals. However, she accepted the role that life had for her and grew into it. Queen Consort's sudden metamorphosis. The incredible rise of Camilla from unpopularity to the position of Queen Consort is only one of many royal narratives that have unfolded at Buckingham Palace throughout the years. People were skeptical of her position at first because of her history with Prince Charles, which began during his marriage to Princess Diana. As a result, the public was fiercely loyal to Diana and blamed Camilla for the pain that followed. People around were devastated by Diana's death. After Diana died away, their love for her grew even stronger. At that tragic period, Camilla was held responsible. There was no concrete proof, but speculation swirled that she was involved in Diana's death. Everyone was talking about these rumors because they were in the news. No official statement came out of the palace on these reports. Instead of rejecting the rumors, they chose to remain silent in the hopes that their silence would be more powerful than a defense. People did not believe in Camilla, so she couldn't sit back and do nothing. Realizing that words alone would not solve the problem, she resolved to do something about it. She made steady progress on rebranding herself. Being humble and kind were the main points, refraining from defensiveness and instead assisting others. She was a silent supporter of Prince Charles, who became king, and she did charity work and spoke out for vital causes. She gained the public's confidence through her voluntary work with organizations that address health and family concerns. Her genuine empathy and commitment shone through in her efforts for these issues. She became known as someone who aspired to make a difference, rather than merely as Charles's companion. Her outgoing attitude began to shine through as she began to attend public gatherings with greater frequency. In spite of the rumors that circulated about her, she listened, smiled, and kept her strength. At this time, the palace maintained a low profile, while nevertheless exerting considerable influence. Instead of attempting to erase Camilla's history, They have chosen to let her actions reveal her true identity. She was not thrust into the limelight without hesitation. Charles often observed Camilla as she was gently introduced to royal duties. The public's perception of her was influenced by this methodical introduction. Over time, her present self became more prominent than her prior self. There was a gradual shift in tone from the media's earlier harsh coverage of Camilla. Even the newspapers that had painted her in a bad light began to praise her for how seriously she took her royal duties. Moving away from Camilla's troubles of yesteryear, the spotlight is now on her dedication to her role and the hard work she has put in. Because of this, people started to see Camilla in a more positive light. As more and more people realized that Camilla is human and struggles with flaws, they started to view her in a different perspective. The fact that Camilla was not attempting to usurp Diana's position or undermine her legacy became abundantly evident. A member of the royal family, she was just being herself as she supported Charles and did her job. Her efforts were acknowledged throughout the royal family. She was highly esteemed by senior members of the royal family for her unwavering commitment. She was clearly more than a royal courtier. She was an integral cog in the monarchy's future. She was involved in major royal occasions, championed many causes, and was instrumental in keeping royal traditions alive. She was always well received without trying to steal the show. As time passed, Camilla's enemies began to see things from her perspective. Not everyone warmed up to her, but many did begin to admire her courage and determination. Public scorn, media attention, and continual comparisons were all things Camilla had to contend with. Grace and patience, nonetheless, were able to soften even the hardest hearts. She remained steadfast, though. The public now looks up to Camilla since she is the Queen's wife. Criticism and rumor were obstacles on her path to success. But these things did not deter her. She opted to forge her own way instead, continuing on the path of kindness. How, then, does Camilla want to improve the monarchy? Behind the crown, there is a silent power. Everyone in the British royal family watches their every move. Millions of eyes study and interpret glances, handshakes, remarks, and smiles in different ways. A member of the royal family is expected to do more than simply dress elegantly and mingle with the public. Keeping up a specific public persona is essential. A deeper story emerges, though, when events take place behind closed doors, away from prying eyes and the press. The Queen Consort of England, Camilla, is an interesting example. For a long period, Camilla avoided the limelight. The public's opinion of her was divided after she was photographed with Prince Charles, the current King Charles III. Many perceived her differently because of her history with Charles and her presence during his marriage to Princess Diana. She was falsely suspected of being involved in a complex scenario, while some claimed she damaged a royal romance. Behind the scenes, there can be a great deal of stress, even though palace life appears beautiful in images and events are carefully planned. No member of the royal family is safe from the scrutiny of the press or the internal politics of the palace. They must remain vigilant. Taking on a big role as a princess presented Camilla with obstacles. All the while, she was the target of whispers, secrets, and accusations. Prince Harry makes some hurtful claims in his new memoir. Rather than depicting Camilla as an innocent family member, he painted her as a media manipulator. He said that she had leaked confidential information in order to boost her reputation, regardless of the consequences to others. Many were worried that a member of the royal family may divulge sensitive information. Confidentiality has always been of the utmost importance to the monarchy. Resolving private concerns is usually done in a method that is not visible to the public. The family's honor can take a hit if someone betrays their confidence. Camilla may have betrayed Harry's confidence in order to forward her own agenda, according to Harry's claims. Some thought she was being strategic, while others saw her as dangerous. The feud between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton was rumored to have originated with Camilla. Their tense relationship has captured the public's attention, with individuals taking sides. The mystery was intensified as rumors circulated that Camilla might have used their disagreement as a distraction from her own problems. Assuming this to be true, it would show a crafty but brutal approach to dealing with royal politics. The royal family finds that having distractions helps while they are dealing with challenges. For newspapers and social media, a public quarrel between two young duchesses was comparable to a major news item. Following it became a popular pastime. It would show that Camilla knows how royal attention works if she used this diversion to divert focus away from herself. She maintained her composure and avoided the limelight as everyone else became entangled in heated arguments. Camilla is still actively involved, despite her relative obscurity. She may not have a prominent public profile, but her work behind the scenes is significant. She is well versed in the inner workings of the media. Camilla is a master manipulator. She can focus attention exactly where it is required. Some say she's strategic and perceptive, stepping in only when absolutely necessary. The narrative is about more than just controlling or manipulating other people, though. The goal is to find a way to survive in a world where your every move matters. Camilla had to put in a lot of time and effort to become a princess. Unlike some people who are born into royal families, growing up, she never imagined she would wear a crown. She stepped into a society where love, loss, loyalty, and adversity were already prevalent. This just served to exacerbate the difficulty of her quest. Camilla altered people's perceptions of her as time went on. She decided to devote herself to charity work instead of fighting or responding to rumors. She was an advocate for issues such as domestic abuse, women's health, and literacy. Although unassuming, these events held great significance. People started to see her differently over time, paying more attention to her present behavior than her past. But old tales kept coming back to haunt her as she tried to move forward. In 2008, a strange story went around regarding a young woman who would often see Camilla. Some thought they were more than just buddies, but others wrote it off as idle chatter. But many were intrigued by the idea that Camilla was living a parallel life. At the time, her reputation was fragile, so anything out of the ordinary would have drawn attention. The story went viral despite the lack of proof or official confirmation. It altered people's perceptions of her. Her relationship status became a topic of curiosity. Because Camilla never explained, nobody could say for sure. Over time, the level of rumor decreased. However, it remained somewhat persistent. Irrespective of their veracity, these tales show the difficulties of being a member of the royal family. Everyone wants to know every little detail, and that's just the public's nature. Interest persists despite attempts to disseminate information. Camilla has figured out how to make the air of intrigue around her work for her. She lets her quiet do the talking for her, refusing to respond to any rumor. Although speculation abounds, certainty is elusive. She distinguishes herself from other vocal royals by using this strategy. Neither interviews nor letters defending herself have been used to reply to headlines. She chooses to watch and adapt instead, and this strategy has served her well, allowing her to not only survive, but thrive in difficult environments. The trip was challenging since there was a lot of doubt and criticism, but she kept her cool the whole time. Even if she failed to win everyone's heart, she certainly earned their respect. But despite this, why do people treat Camilla so poorly and find ways to undermine her? Camilla bears the burden of accusations. Typically, when people think of the British royal family, they picture grandeur, tradition, and power. But underneath the surface, there are intricate feelings, decisions, and enduring recollections. Public scrutiny, personal sacrifices, and the ever-present reminder of Princess Diana's legacy are just a few of the obstacles that Queen Camilla has had to overcome on her journey to becoming queen. Even though Princess Diana tragically died in a Paris automobile crash in 1997, her memory lives on in the hearts of people everywhere. Her warm nature, generosity, and close connection with ordinary people were just as beloved as her position in the royal family. Diana was known as the People's Princess because to her amiability, vulnerability, and ability to convey her suffering honestly. Her untimely demise shocked and grieved many. More and more people began to question her death and its circumstances as time passed. Although some claimed it was just an unfortunate accident, others suspected nefarious play. Camilla Parker Bowles was named in the speculations that linked her death to specific members of the royal family. Following Diana's passing, Camilla was widely believed to have been the adulterous one responsible for the dissolution of Charles and Diana's marriage. For a long time, gossip circulated about their affair, and many people thought that Camilla would never be able to succeed Diana as Charles's right-hand woman as long as Diana was alive. The charges were rendered much more stinging by this idea. Claims that Camilla gained something from Diana's demise circulated, although they lacked evidence. These ideas, which were first discussed in whispers, eventually gained traction, especially among Diana's loyal admirers. Reportedly, Camilla was taken aback by the seriousness of the accusations leveled against her. Although she knew her relationship with Charles was divisive, being linked to a death was much more of a shock. She had hoped that the animosity would fade away with time, despite the fact that she had endured public criticism and unfavorable views for quite some time. But the accusation that she was complicit in a terrible event over which she had no control was a deep and abiding wound that would never heal. It was no little ceremony when Camilla wed Charles in 2005. The ceremony was discreet and well-planned. Lots of thought and deliberation went into each choice. She worked tirelessly to prove herself to be a loyal partner, eager to carry out her royal duties, which helped her win over the public's trust. She buried her head down, avoided turmoil, and focused on getting her reputation back up. Over time, people's views on her started to change. But the criticism didn't stop coming, even when she became queen. Judgments, rumors, and false allegations from the past did not magically disappear. Because Camilla believed that bringing attention to the rumors would only serve to spread them, she chose to remain silent about them. Her friends, though, attest that she has struggled to remain silent. Close friends and family have heard her express her pain about the claims. Despite her best efforts, flashbacks to her troubled history keep popping into her head. Her references to Diana are few, but when they do occur, they are polite and succinct. Her desire to move on from the past is clear, but it won't go away. Camilla began volunteering instead of defending herself or appearing in interviews. In her charitable giving, she presented herself as humble, kind, and dedicated. Subtly, she helped harassed women reveal a new part of herself and promoted reading. She wanted the people to see beyond her tarnished reputation and into her promising future. Nothing is ever truly gone from history. News spreads like wildfire, particularly because stories can be shared endlessly on the internet and social media. Documentaries, internet blogs, and social media chatter are teaching younger generations about past scandals. Through research into the past, they gain fresh insights. Many will always remember Camilla through Diana's story, and it will continue to be a subject of conversation even now. The intricate web of human connections, including responsibility, peer pressure, and free will, that molded Charles and Diana's relationship, is something that some have come to comprehend and appreciate. They think Charles and Diana's marriage is certain to fail because of its inherent flaws. Camilla is not viewed by these people as a villain, but rather as an ordinary person whose feelings and the expectations of her royal status equally impact her. But then there are some who just won't accept no explanation. Tragically, the anguish they felt upon Diana's death is still with them. They hold Camilla responsible for the demise of their marriage and harbor deep-seated resentment towards her. Now that Camilla is a princess, she must bear the emotional weight of her crown. It is difficult for Camilla to establish her place in history because Diana's influence is still so powerful. For some, Diana's love, rather than her birth, makes her the rightful Queen of Hearts. No matter how long Camilla serves or how many good actions she does, she will never be able to claim this title for herself. Because she had love, went through scandal, took criticism, and now stands by her husband as queen, Camilla's story is one that many can relate to. But there are more than just royal duties that weigh her down. It also includes hidden truths, incessant comparisons, unsolved questions, and persistent beliefs about her. In spite of all the criticism she received, Camilla persisted in her devotion. The hidden details of their union. The reason Camilla always held on to Charles. Despite years of criticism and difficulties, Camilla and Charles remained close in a world where others' views may destroy even the greatest relationships. Their love did not begin idyllically, as in fairy tales, but rather it was forged in the midst of adversity and the rejection of many. Whatever the case may be, Camilla persisted in her relationship with Charles regardless of how much opposition she faced. Their bond was real and powerful right from the start. Their feelings for one another were constant and profound, and they understood each other well. Life took them in separate directions, but their feelings for one another remained unwavering. Marrying a woman who conformed to royal standards was one of Charles's responsibilities as an aspiring monarch. Camilla, on the other hand, was considered unfit for monarchy due to her unconventional background. Despite being married to other people, their friendship continued to grow discreetly over time. An easier path could have been available to Camilla. She could have chosen to remain hidden, to avoid harm, and to build a tranquil existence apart from the scrutiny of the nobility. However, she decided to remain at Charles's side. Why? Because neither celebrity nor power were motivating factors. Reasons being unwavering devotion, deep emotional connection, and unending love. In spite of the criticism, she continued to support him subtly, never really letting go. Many people thought she was completely wrong, particularly following the immense popularity of Princess Diana. The world adored Diana because she was young, gorgeous, and famous. For many, Camilla represented all that was wrong with Diana. A lot of people were furious and blamed her when Charles and Diana's marriage failed. A lot of people thought she was to blame for the marriage's demise. There was a lot of pressure on her. Her name was in the news, and whispers followed her everywhere she went. But this did not cause Camilla to avoid the spotlight. She had a good sense of when to step back, stayed silent when things got tough, but she never abandoned Charles. Their capacity to stay strong sprang from their mutual understanding and patience. After getting a divorce, they did not rush into anything because they knew timing was everything. Instead, they rehabilitated their reputation piece by piece, avoiding the public scrutiny that would have resulted from sharing their story too soon. They supported one another through bad times and kept their friendship strong behind closed doors, even though they didn't make large statements or try to gain approval. Rather than a lavish royal celebration, Charles and Camilla wed in 2005 in a small, solemn ceremony. They chose a ritual that paid homage to their past, while simultaneously heralding a new beginning, cognizant of the need to proceed with caution. Even though the public didn't warm up to Charles and Camilla at first, they stuck together. Their steadfast devotion to one another is the secret ingredient to their blissful marriage. They weathered the storm because they had put their relationship through its paces before they tied the knot. Because they had patiently waited, watched, and weathered storms together for years, their relationship was anything from a fling. Loss, criticism, and rejection were all things they had to deal with. Nonetheless, they persisted in their support for one another. In the midst of adversity, their love had grown and strengthened. The fact that Camilla was always herself was also a major factor. She made no attempt to steal Diana's spotlight or assert her independence. Rather, she ignored the praise she could have received and focused on her duties, providing emotional support to Charles while she tackled pressing difficulties. Her status as more than simply a historical person began to grow over time. Her sympathy, devotion, and quiet support of her spouse were noted. Staying true to herself paid off in the end, leading to the respect she had worked so hard to acquire. It was Camilla's inner courage and love that led her to remain with Charles. She decided to stick it out because she thought their relationship was worth fighting for, even though she knew the public would disapprove. Their bond was something Charles also never doubted. They worked together to create an environment where their love could flourish, despite the fact that many people were against them. In your opinion, are these confessions reasonable? Is it possible that the crowd will never embrace her completely? Post your opinions down below and hit the like, share, and subscribe button while you're at it. Make sure you click on the video that appears on your screen before you go.